Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any additions or corrections or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade? Yay. And we have the fiscal officer's report. Russ?
Yes, sir. After some work with a number of vendors, we decided to go ahead and choose Midwestern Wealth Management as our investment advisor. And we'll be replacing People's Bank with the township's money. We're going to move the balance of our money from People's into Midwestern Wealth Management. And we got a slightly better rate than what we did the last time. So I'm happy with that, and I would ask the board for a motion to approve Midwestern Wealth Management as our investment advisor.
Okay, is there a motion to approve Midwestern Wealth Management as our investment advisor?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for all your work on that, Russ.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Happy to do it.
Big deal.
And let's see, the next thing I have on the agenda here is the bills for today.
Okay. We have had a chance to take a look at the bills. Anybody have any questions? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
All right, that's that. And the last thing is an appropriation supplemental for the 2019, not this year. We're good for this year, but for 2019, I made an error in the gas tax fund when I created my spreadsheet, so I need to fix that. And then we also had a couple raises that weren't in the budget that we need to fix in the general fund. So you'll see there's a very small supplemental appropriation for that purpose. And I think you had it in the email. If there's any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Anybody have any questions about 5141? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve 5141?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else at all, Russ?
Nope, that's it for this year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Okay, we have public comments. Looks like that's going to be a quick one. And moving on to new business administration, we have 5142, resolution establish 2019 pay rates for all non-bargaining employees and elected officials.
As the board directed after executive session last meeting, we have prepared a resolution establishing the pay rates and increases for all non-bargaining folks. There's also a provision in front of the governor now. I don't know if it's still pending, Ross?
Yeah, it's still pending right now, but I haven't heard anything, and this will only take effect if that legislation passes.
The governor, in fact, has in front of him right now legislation to increase, a small increase for elected officials, township trustees, as well as the fiscal officer. If it does in fact pass, the statutory rates will go into effect as well. If you have any questions, I'd like to.
Anybody have any questions about 5142? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have a request to authorize the fiscal officer to distribute HSA and HRA subsidies to employees for 2019 at 80% of the total deductible in the first pay period of 2019.
As requested, to answer any questions.
How did we do this in the past?
Last year, I believe
Was it 80 also?
No, it was 90.
No, it's not.
Most of them are, 80% of the subsidies are contractually obligated.
Okay.
We ask the non-profit folks to see that.
Are those going to be applied 100% initially, or is that spread out throughout the?
It's going to be applied 100%.
That's all at the start of the year.
Okay. And is there a reason why it's done that way as opposed to,
Yeah, we're contractually obligated to do it that way right at this moment, but it is certainly something that we can consider in future bargaining arrangements.
We had some discussion on that before.
I think that's what I said.
Me too, because I agree with you. You know, the obvious thing is that if somebody leaves, they get us for that money, and I don't really think that's fair to the township personally, so next year, next time that comes around, maybe we can negotiate that and try to get it by quarters or at least semi-annual.
I thought we discussed that.
We did discuss.
No, I know, but I think it was yeah.
I think we might.
No, we didn't lose it. I think it was a negotiating point at that time.
Oh, okay.
It was.
That was,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Well,
I
guess
concur.
it'd be a negotiating point again.
I don't have a big issue with paying it up front if we had any kind of recourse if they did leave. The problem is, once the money's gone, we can't get it back.
Absolutely.
So, that's the challenge.
That is-
And our previous administrator actually exposed that to us, so.
Would you like you need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize the fiscal officer to distribute the funds as indicated?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
Planning and zoning? Jeff?
Yes, sir. Have a request to reimburse the zoning board of zoning appeals and the zoning commission at a rate of $25 per meeting. Have that specified with their totals.
Okay, is there a motion to reimburse the zoning board officials?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And we have a request to set a public hearing?
And we thought we'd start January off right by having a public hearing. Actually, I'm going to request two of them if you guys are available on January the 14th at 5:30. The first is the Montgomery property. It's going through a PUD request. It goes from SR1 to RPUD.
Which property?
This is the northern part of the Montgomery farm.
Okay.
On Redline 5 Points and 740.
Gotcha.
You want to see the sign out there?
Yeah, the signs on both sides, and depending on who you talk with, some people like it, some people don't, so it should be an interesting meeting. Zoning commission was a lengthy meeting, but we hope to get it narrowed down for you guys. So if you're available, that would be the first one. The second one that I have has been the text amendment that we initiated to modify the drainage easement statement. So that's right up front.
Have you had interest in that?
There was very little discussion on it, with the exception of the wording that Warren County Regional Planning put was just a little bit more clear than how mine was. So that's what the recommendation is, to change it, minor word change, to make sure that we have more clarity.
All right, is there a motion to set these two public hearings for January 14th at 5:30 p.m.?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Anything else, Jeff?
The only other thing, I still need a zoning appeals member sworn in at the last meeting. There was discussion since she couldn't make it, but maybe we could have representation at their next BZA meeting. There's a training scheduled for the 8th of January, Tuesday night at 7. I wasn't sure if anyone would be available to come in for a couple minutes or not.
I'm sure that I can be here. Unless somebody else wants to do it. I'm not doing anything. Tuesday, I'm not going to go uptown.
Okay.
And at what time?
At 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. I'll send you an email to remind, sir.
Yeah, and I'll get it on the calendar. All right.
Cool.
That's it?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Police Department discussion of non-resident rates.
Chief Carroll sends his apologies for not being able to be here today. He had family issues to take care of. He did ask me to bring forward the continuation discussion from last meeting about the non-resident family and fingerprint rates. After further research, what about average right now, where we are charging non-native folks, folks that don't work in the city or the township. The that bit of information, I think, the administration's recommendation would probably be worth $95 to $100.
What do we charge them for that, for the?
It's 85 now.
Yes, about 85 for non.
That's the rate we just
Oh,
approved.
yeah, that's the one we just approved, cool.
And that's up from
80, isn't it?
80.
Yeah.
Oh, here, do I hear
They're gonna drive here
95?
for- they're
That's
gonna
what
drive here for
administration's
$10.
recommendation has been worth 95 to even 100.
Well, would it, I assume that what we're talking about is our goal is to not have so many of them.
Dissuade folks from traveling.
I think we ought to match, set our goals at $5 higher.
I'd say we go to 95. That's my opinion. We're $2 higher, that way when they call, they'll stay home.
Do we want to make this effective today? And we'll change the schedule and bring it forward?
Well, probably January 1 or January 1st.
Does that make sense? Everything stays the same for residents.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay. Is there a motion to change our rates for non-residents and not working in Clearfield Township to fingerprinting to $95?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Nothing else from the police department? Chief, anything new for you today?
I have no official business, but I wanted to update the board that our ladder truck is currently out of service. We had one of the hydraulic pumps that operate the truck sprung a leak, so it had to go to Kentucky to get rebuilt. So we're actually going to have both of them rebuilt since it involves a crane and a lot of process. But we haven't got a price quote yet, so when we get that, I will certainly let you know.
Let Mr. Clark know.
How long do they think that will take?
Just a couple weeks. And once it's the holidays, it's really the big
Oh,
deal. Once they get the shop back up and running.
That always happens, doesn't it?
Doing lights.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that information. Hopefully you'll get back before you need it. Road department, Scott, anything?
Nothing today, sir.
It's been good weather for you guys.
Yeah, we have no complaints.
Yeah.
We're further ahead this year than we were last year, actually. They were in November, so.
Okay. Well, hopefully that'll keep going. Staff updates?
I've got a few things for you. AEP payroll is going reasonably well with Mr. Dean's guidance and leadership in that area. He's worked very hard and continues to work hard to make sure that the errors are minimized with each pay period. So he's done a fantastic job. After it grows up. We are currently pending a letter from our liability carrier about these shelters and our liability limits and flexibility and protection. We get sued on those with regard to charging user fees on it, so that has been asked for and Pat's working on it now.
Okay.
That should be in the offing. I noticed yesterday, and looking at the calendar, there are a few conflicts in the 2019 meeting schedule. I'll work on those and bring a complete package forward for the board next meeting, so we can move, meeting off of the warrant today, that sort of thing. Try to move we can access the schedule early.
And we're still planning on doing the second meeting of each month in the Monday morning?
That's what,
Yep, okay. I was just looking at January, thinking that very thing, so.
Following up on a meeting that we had with the engineer's office a month or two ago, when I say we, it's really myself, they had recommended that for some ditching and drainage work that they're intended to do on Bonnell Hill down here at Clarksburg, from Cross Street, we would be looked very favorably upon if we were to file an application for the Ohio Public Works Commission for a zero interest loan, so to speak, to finance any monies to bring forward in that. I was going to be working on that in the very near future if it satisfies the board to do so. They're looking for some local contribution along with engineers funds as well as the PWC fund. Glad to do so if the board pleases, if it pleases the board.
But did they give I don't remember, do we have an estimate of what they want us to participate?
I think they asked for $90,000.
Chief. As a matter of fact, you know, this is not an issue that we created. And they created it. And I don't think we should have to pay for it. However, you know, it is affecting citizens, so I guess we should have some discussion on that. That's a time for me to fight off. Now, what do you think? You know the situation somewhat.
They talking about through the backyard there, and the guy's drainage?
Not really, we're talking about where it crests and goes over the road.
Over the road.
So, yeah, right adjacent to his backyard,
But
yes.
it will have some effect on him.
Where it crosses Bono Hill right there?
Yes.
I've personally never seen it on the street there.
It does.
Heard that it has.
I've never seen it. I know it's been an issue for a long time, and what's their proposal? Larger, so to speak?
They're gonna, and on the east side of the road, they're gonna somehow develop a new ditch down through there.
Actually, they're gonna reverse the flow and keep the ditch, keep it on the east side. It's all gonna drain south on the west side of the road. They're gonna improve the ditch for 650 feet from the cross street south. They're gonna reverse the flow so it doesn't flow from west to east across Funnel Hill anymore. It'll actually flow west over to the improved drainage area.
So it's gonna run south on Bono Hill on the west side?
Correct. And then,
I was gonna say on the east side, they're not, the guy with the pond there, we've tried.
now we're gonna.
That's a no-go over there for
We're gonna
sure.
reverse the flow so it doesn't actually flow to the east side anymore. And they're gonna put a big box culvert, they want to put a box culvert instead of the undersized pipe that's going under the side street.
Well, my biggest suggestion would be whatever you do decide to do on that, make it at least 10 feet. That way it's theirs to maintain, not ours. If you're putting that kind of money forward with that type of flow. Anything under 10 feet will be ours, anything 10 feet or over is the county's to maintain.
You're talking about the ditch?
Whatever they put under the roadway there, I don't know how large you're gonna go, but the one there now is about 6 feet. It goes across the road west to east, which isn't big enough. But it does make several sharp bends. I don't know what their plans are, I haven't seen anything on it, so 90,000 seems like a lot of money. I don't know what they're putting forward, but I can't imagine the whole project really is, to the extent of it, could be $90,000, so.
Aren't they talking about that coming up on, into that subdivision and doing some work up, that's, whatever that side street is?
They were gonna replace the existing pipe there with box culvert.
Just under the roadway.
So the only, from what I'm hearing, they're not doing anything in the guy's backyard, and that's his biggest problem, is his backyard. So I don't really understand the whole process, to be honest with you. I know it's
They're gonna do
encroaching,
something with that, try to help him.
that's not gonna change anything in his backyard.
No.
You know, the only option they put forward for Mr. Gibbs was to, if he wants to tackle the project on his own nickel, he'd be happy to lay the pipe in there and all the equipment up there. But that's at his own expense.
Just so I'm clear, in my irritation with these projects continues to get higher and higher as the years go by. They made a mistake, they want us to help them pay for the mistake by fixing it in a situation where we really don't have much control over how it's fixed. Is that fair?
You know, I said they made a mistake, but that, what I was referring to was, Mr. Gibbs and going through that, but this project isn't gonna address that, so.
So it doesn't solve our citizens' problem, it solves a flow problem for them. That if I'm hearing correctly, could create another flow problem at Lower Spring Road, could it not?
So, you know, it's gonna get to Binkley Lane, that's where the drainage is, under that bridge right
Yeah.
across from Binkley.
Yeah.
And then it flows, so that goes, on
So-
down.
Are they gonna pipe that all the way down on the west side of Bono, down to the bridge? Because that's gonna be a huge ditch to maintain that amount of flow.
Yeah, good ditch it is.
It's gonna be a very large ditch, and
Now, I don't know if they're gonna pipe the whole thing
That's
down.
not the plan.
So-
Yeah, it can't be, 650 feet would not get you close.
my suggestion is probably out of line would be to help the property owner in his backyard with our expense and not help the county at all from taking it from the right of way all the way down, since it was their problem in the first place. because that's not gonna help him. I mean, it keeps getting closer and closer to his back door. And it was supposed to be on the other side of that tree line that runs in his backyard. And when they developed that plat, they kicked it south, and now it's meandering through his
I
backyard.
don't think the larger culvert will help that, or a straighter, box culvert. I mean, I'm asking, I'm not,
Well, this pond over here has a spring that runs year-round, it never stops.
right.
And the pond hasn't been dredged in so long, it is completely full, so when that is pumping with the rain, the pond isn't a retention area at all, it shoots right by the pond, that's why you get so much flow.
I
We
got you.
ditched that twice,
I got you.
done all we can do, and when we ditched it the second time, there was so much flow that's when we discovered a couple other drainage pipes had been moved in there, where the county or the developer went in there and did some stuff that I think was kind of brushed under the rug, and when we talked to the county about it, they kind of said that was back when we didn't have an inspector, and some things were done that probably weren't right, and it pretty much owned up to the whole thing, other than they didn't want to do anything at the time, and that's been going on
When
now
they were
for about 5
developing that,
years.
Jerry Stiles went in there, and Jerry was their inspector, and then we have the documents where he signed off on the field to change that flow. They should have never done. And of course, 6 months later, Jerry passed away. So that was a mess, and it was their fault. And now we're talking about what's affecting our resident now, not on South Side. So there's no question they screwed that up. And Jerry did, and, that wasn't like him to make a change in the field. He was really a hard nose, not a, so I don't know why he did, but it doesn't matter. He did, and threw the board back down on to Pete.
Some of the commentary we got from the engineer's office also was added development north of the watershed that we're sitting in right now. All of that flows obviously down towards Meadowview. I'm not disagreeing with Mr. Gibbon, I'm just reiterating the comments that.
It's,
So it exacerbated the issue.
we've got others, as you know, that are becoming issues, and what I look at is, and I'll use a 50-year-old reference to my grandfather. My grandfather didn't give my dad the end of his land on the south end of our property because he knew someday that would be bought to be developed. My concern is we haven't seen, and we aren't seeing that type of thought process go through with our engineer's office when they make these decisions. And the growth is happening. It's not, we can't close our eyes to it. So how are we preparing for and thinking about the next thing? Being proactive versus what this feels to be reactive to a problem. We wait until a problem comes up before we fix it. So that's where my frustration lies.
Well, and that's not gonna change county government's not gonna spend money on.
No, but the decisions, my point is, they're making decisions that would be easily fixable if they would use that thought process. It's not necessarily even spending money, it's the decisions there. I mean, we've got a current situation that was 6 months ago that they made a bad decision. Mr. Palmer's hoping for a New Year's resolution in that regard, so, it's a concern, and I don't particularly care for our participation in something like this, especially to that level. $90,000 is a lot of money that we can spend.
Well, if they're going to put I know obviously it's gonna be a big
Not on
ditch.
EDP, but other.
If they're gonna ditch it that deep, it's a big ditch.
If they put the same size box culvert under going south that's going west to east, it would probably maintain the flow all the way down as long as they make the ditch wide versus deep. I think it would handle, and it would improve the guy's property on the corner, but
How did the?
it will definitely help, and I do believe they can maintain it. And I think if they use the same size and it's a straight shot, because when that's really pumping, if you go to the east side, there's so many dams and stuff down through there, 90-degree turns and everything that's hindering that flow.
Right.
But if it was a straight shot down the west side of Bundle Hill and, under Meadowview there, even with the same size culvert that it has, I think it would take all the water and it would run fine down through there, to be honest with you, now that I visualize and think a bit more. Because the box culvert there now is half full, and we don't have any means of cleaning it out, so there's nowhere for it to go on the east side by the pond, and we've cleaned that, we've dredged it 2 or 3 times, but we can't go under the fence. And the fence is a few feet from the outlet of that culvert where that pond is, and we can't break those humps because he doesn't want that getting into his pond, which I don't blame him. So we can't really make that flow the way it needs to on the east side heading south. So if they do run it, you know, on the west side down Bunnell Hill and shoot it under Meadowview in the same size culvert that's existing there, it will handle, in my opinion, all the flow and all the water down through there without a problem. It's just, they can make the ditch a bit wider to hold it versus deeper, so that you get a lot of cars that run off through there in the winter. So if they can make it wider versus deeper, I think it would be fine, honestly.
How did they arrive at $90,000 for our participation?
Do we know the total project cost?
Yes, $220,000.
We're on the, what did it say?
I'm sorry.
25%.
Yeah, that's what their answer was.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah, it's
Closer to 40.
Yeah. Half of it would be to
110,
Yeah.
33, 34%.
I-
Come on, Russ, help us out now.
No, you're getting there, that's on its line, I
I gotta reach for my phone now.
I tell them we don't think it's fair that we participate to that level. And, if they're gonna ask for money from the state grant, so to speak, or they're suggesting that we borrow the money at no interest for our portion of it?
They're suggesting that OPWC will bring forward funds of their own, and they suggest that we take on some of an additional amount in the stormwater management also participates in the project. So the level of participation project, I'm glad, or level of participation question, we can certainly discuss that at greater length.
Well, it sounds like if we have those two, an opportunity to get money from those two different organizations, then the county's not putting hardly anything in.
I would characterize that as correct.
I think you're getting warmer.
No. At least as far as I'm concerned, let's argue with them a little bit. I like $10,000 a lot better than $90,000.
So are they just picking it up on Bunnell Hill, in the right of way of Bunnell Hill, and just running it straight south to the bridge and adding the culvert under the Meadowview there?
You're gonna reverse the flow, fill in the little pit on the east side of the road, reverse the flow so it actually goes west. And then
Comes under the.
So they're gonna
box
actually-
culvert under Meadowview,
then this way. and then
650 feet of the
They're adding to the
south
flow
of
as well.
Meadowview towards the
Yeah, not too
bridge.
much, but,
Yeah. I'll just be quiet.
Okay, well, see what they say. Anything?
Sorry that you get to carry the water on this one, no pun intended. Or maybe pun intended, I don't know, Neil likes this kind of joke, so.
Yeah. Anything else?
No,
Anybody else have anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Muscal?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah.